Welcome to Stu and the Nunn, an online radio show and podcast focused on national security, policy, politics, and selfless service. We're here to give you an honest opinion, a different perspective, and hopefully a few laughs. We do this by not only interviewing guests, but also sharing our own perspectives and asking you, the listener, to interact with us on the show chat room, via our Facebook page, and on Twitter. We would like to thank those who make this show possible and allow us to bring it to you. Our show sponsors like Enlisted 9 Fight Company and Road Armor. Absolutely great show sponsors here. Everyone, welcome to another episode of Stu and the Nunn here, September 27th. It seems like yesterday, Toby, we were going, where did July go? How's it August? Now it is the end of September. The end of the federal year, fiscal year, ending this weekend. We're into FY19 in the government, new budgets, new everything. And here we are. Thank you for joining us. You see, I got my brother from another mother in a great-looking Enlisted 9 Guardians of the Constitution 2A shirt. Welcome, Toby.
You know, just like the movie, we have a great soundtrack. And, you know, like I just get so hyped when I hear the intro music. But yeah, big shout out, Enlisted 9 Fight Company on the 9lineapparel.com website. Great partnership with some great folks. We are broadcasting live as always. It is time to remind people that we are on Facebook Live. We are on the Twitch. We are on the Twitter, Periscope, iTunes, iHeartRadio, but I heart you more than I heart the radio.
Aw, that is so sweet, Toby.
Break it down for my man.
Yeah.
But it's awesome, you know, to be with you here tonight, and you know, to always represent our friends, our family. And I tell you, while a lot of people are up in arms about all the happenings that are going on in the world and the country today, I'm encouraged because I've seen some really good positive things. I've seen some good dialogue between people and civility where we typically don't see any. And I'm like excited. I know there's some people that disagree. And yes, Colton Smith, look at the hair, homie. What's up?
Yeah.
Bring sexy back. And you know, my man Mike Harris up in there. You got the Shad up in there. Look at these chat rooms going off with these great people tuning in to hear the melodic voice.
Yes. And look at these great shirts, man. Look at this. I have got a classic, one of my favorites, a personal gift from you. A little static here. The Jolly Roger, one of my favorite quotes of Enlisted 9 Fight Company shirt. So yeah, we are sporting. And of course, I'm, you know, Toby, you're showing off the hair. I'm showing off the hat. This great looking VO hat. You know.
I wonder if you got that. www.veteranoutdoors.com. You can't find them there, but if you go there, you can learn about the great things that Veteran Outdoors does, and plans on doing.
Absolutely.
Yep. There are the many nonprofits that get the Stu and the Nunn seal/stamp of approval, like Muddy Oaks Warrior Programs. Our main man, Chad Robichaux, meeting with the Sec Def. What? Sitting down with the Mad Dog, with Chaos himself, and like laying down what's working in the veteran suicide prevention community. And yes, Colton, it's on the internet. It's held forever. We will get you some new ones soon. Screenshot that, Troy. Screenshot that.
I got that right now. That's it. We got it committed, and it's saved in Facebook land forever.
So first of all, shout out to Colton, who is worldwide and
like worldwide prestige. That's a whole other thing.
Almost like worldwide prestige, doing some great stuff. And one of the things I love seeing is Colton's always looking out for his brother. And when he's looking out for his brother, he finds opportunities to put value into their lives. And I saw something a couple weeks back that I don't even exactly know what was going on, but he called in Ferris, one of his partners in the NCOIC that took the torch from it, the Three Corps and Fort Hood Fight Club, Fight House, and got him involved in something. And I just love seeing that stuff. I love seeing the interactions with all the soldiers that he's trained, mentored, been around. I saw him with the belt award, going to one of his soldiers that was PCSing the other day. I just absolutely love that stuff. Plus, I actually do like the chokes that he does by demonstration. I practice on my golden doodle at the house. Sydney's got a mean guard defense. I'm just saying. I don't know if your bulldog has the same guard defense that like my golden doodle has, but what's up?
Yeah, Brutus has a defense. It could be jumping on you to hump you, or maybe to attack you. But either one, you may want the attack more than a hump. I don't know. He is 82 pounds of pure hate, ignorance, and love. But yeah, depends on which one you get that day. But
An infantryman can love.
yes, that's it. But speaking of infantry, boy, we got some great topics tonight. As you see, it's just Toby and I, but that's okay. We had a last minute guest that kind of fell through last minute, but again, that's okay. But there's a lot to talk about. Of course, as always, you could comment on any of our chat forums. We are now, man, Toby, we keep cranking up this technology. We got this stuff figured out. Like you said, we're on iHeartRadio. We're on the hell else? We're on Spreaker. We're on iTunes. We are on Spotify. We're on all of our video outlets of YouTube, Periscope, Facebook, and Twitch. And now we can chat across all the video outlets. So Facebook, Twitch, Twitch, Periscope, and YouTube. We're running one chat program talking to all of them. We can see all the comments. So if you're watching on one of the other platforms, most are on Facebook. But if you are on one of the other platforms, you can comment. We can chat with you there. And, of course, you can text us at 512-361-1178. You text the show. Toby and I will see it. We'll comment back to you, all that good stuff. But, yeah, we're getting this stuff locked down. But we have a lot of stuff to cover tonight, dude. It has been, ever since we've had this show, now, 141 episodes. We've had a couple, break weeks there. But ever since we've had this show, it is no shortage of content. And thank God we have President Trump in office. Thank for that. Remember back in the old days in our earlier shows, if we lost a guest at the last minute, we were kind of like, what were we going to talk about? Like, there was nothing. There was nothing exciting. Not at all.
There's absolutely no shortage. On the political aspect, I mean, the President of the United States is the gift that keeps on giving. If it be on, like, entertainment level, be it on policy level, be it on inspirational level, be it on WTF level. I mean, he runs the whole spectrum of like engagement. And I don't know if it's deliberate. I don't know if he's really the mad scientist that he just might be, but there's no shortage. So let's roll, because the dude followed up the Rocket Man speech. And so you have an interesting leader when they, meaning the media, celebrate anniversaries like the Rocket Man speech. like, name one Obama speech.
The only thing I remember about Obama speeches are the ones where, like, his apologetic, when he first got into office and he went around the country apologizing to everyone and bowing to people and stuff. That's like the only thing I really remember,
Right. I mean, there's like, I can name 3 Bush speeches, and,
not always for the best reasons, but yes.
Not always for the best reasons, but like, you're like, oh, that speech.
The mission accomplished speech. Oh yeah, I remember that one.
Like, we will, we will not waver speech.
Yeah.
Mission accomplished speech. One good, one bad there. Like there's all these speeches you can like, and you're like, Obama, there's 8 years of, I guess he said some really awesome, he's an extremely elegant speaker. Elegant, right. Eloquent.
But sometimes elegant and eloquent doesn't resonate. Has a lot.
Right.
That was three big words,
like,
and that was 3 big words in about 5 seconds right there. But yeah, it doesn't resonate.
I think, when you think back, in terms of speeches, a soundbite is what probably is going to lead to it in terms of, uh, his the Affordable Care Act, and you can get that, uh, you can kind of rope that in, but like Trump, man, like he's got his Twitter Connect going, like he broadcasts on more platforms than we do.
He
Like,
does, and he really only needs his Twitter. I mean, as
right?
much as as much as Twitter hates him because of just the social media and the big media in Silicon Valley, they owe a lot of revenue generation to him because that dude is he's got some serious followers.
Yeah, no, like,
We get the news as fast as the mainstream press does, right? Because we get it
no,
on our phones.
like,
You, you know how many times
I'm
I've been on the air with Dave Bellavia and I see a tweet come across from the president and me and Dave when I've been on the air guest hosting with him and I'm like muting myself going, Dave, this just happened. And we're announcing it 2 minutes before ABC cuts into our broadcast and starts announcing it. And I'm like, I just got it off the president's Twitter.
like he dude's on point, man. Like I remember all the cool jokes that Obama was, credited to, in terms of Twitter, but like his Twitter game was nothing, man. Like his Twitter game was weak. And I'm not saying the president's Twitter game is good. I'm just saying it ain't weak.
Right, right. He's bringing it strong. Yeah. The
Comes with it. Sometimes you're like, hey guy,
yeah.
like,
Well,
did you
we've
really
all
need to?
cringed, right? We've all cringed a little bit, but it. I mean, he gets results. That's all I can say. Good, bad, or indifferent. I mean, he makes me cringe too sometimes. I'll be honest. I mean, I'm just like, man, but then I think, well, he's not a politician. That's what America wanted. He says what he feels. That's how people, and which always amazed me. The guy's a multi-billionaire, born into. I mean, most of us, you and I included, but most of America was not born into the lifestyle and the wealth that he was in his family. And really, prior to him running president, no one could relate to him. Right? He had Trump Tower, his Trump Tower in Chicago, New York, Vegas, all over the place. No one else has that. Has these huge, beautiful golden hotels with their name across it, and never wanting of anything, and pretty much having it. We could not. He would not be someone like me and him. We're one and the same, right? We're two peas in a pod. But after the election, because he was so different than the mainstream politicians, he literally became relatable to every single person in the country, especially in rural America. And if you think about it, to me, it's always amazed me how that we took a multi-millionaire billionaire who'd become as down to earth and relatable as the guy in the diner in the seat next to you.
The no, like I I was listening to I'm trying to find the guy's name because I want to make sure I credit him right. Um, uh, Larry Sharp. So Larry Sharp's a guy out of New York running for New York governor. Your people.
Hmm.
He's running on the L ticket, on the L train. I'm not sure if that's the appropriate terminology, but on the libertarian ticket.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy's got all these really interesting sound bites and really interesting, points. And he's got a lot of attention. He got so much attention that, he got invited on Joe Rogan. And, like Joe Rogan is an extremely intelligent individual, extremely well read, well versed. He's more than just a guy that was a stand up comedian and hosted, a show where, people ate bugs.
Right.
Like, dude's an extremely intelligent guy. He tore through Larry Sharp with the quickness. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because you have political candidates that they can get on a podium, they can sound great, but the second they get into debate, the second they get questioned on their idea and they have to quantify it or qualify it as a viable policy or a viable idea, they just waver. And his sounded at the time on face value pretty good. Like they made they made sense in terms of his like presentation of it.
Right.
But under minor scrutiny, it all fell apart. I bring this up because there were a lot of people that when President Trump, then candidate Trump, brought up some of his policy ideas, people were like, "No, this dude just isn't in touch, doesn't understand. This is not how it works. Washington's going to shut him down. He's going to hit that Washington wall, or the swamp's going to swallow him up." And he's actually been able to deliver because he didn't have rhetoric leading his campaign. He had vision leading his campaign. I don't share all that vision, but he led with vision, not rhetoric. And it's so interesting because we're in a really cool political cycle right now. As everyone knows, I live in the state of Texas. I'm right in the heart of Texas, just north of Austin, in the coolest little town ever, Georgetown. And, we're in a heated battle between a Democrat running for Senate, who's a current seated congressperson, a representative named Beta, I'm saying it wrong, O'Rourke, and the incumbent, Ted Cruz. And it's just really interesting because, when you see vision lead, you get a certain result. When you see rhetoric lead, you see division. And it's just really interesting. I got carried away there when we went down the rabbit hole, but the bottom line is, like, this dude, it doesn't always make sense. But then a month and a half later, you're like, damn it, that was a pawn move, followed by like a sliding of a bishop, followed by a rook move, and wham, check. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, what's going on? He's gotten a lot of attention. Is that because I think a lot of the Hollywood is back this? They see Ted Cruz, right, as such a polarizing figure and such a representation of the right, right? He did some filibustering, and then of course he ran for office. Is that why Beto, whatever his name is, I guess he's like a party or two, from what I understand from his past. Is that why he's getting all this coverage and Hollywood attention and fundraising, because he could possibly unseat what they consider an establishment, strong right Republican?
So the earlier comments I was making in terms of the chess moves and stuff was actually in reference to President Trump. But to clarify that, Beto, which is like a pet name, a street name.
He's got a street name?
Yeah, I mean, kind of in terms of how it's described. Like, that's not his name. So his name is Roberto, or Robert.
Oh, really? I did not know that. That's really, he's using this shortened.
Yeah, no, his real name's Robert O'Rourke.
Was he known as that prior to the election or to the campaign? Did he change it for the campaign?
Basically, yeah.
What a doof.
Well, in his defense,
it sounds like he's pandering. It sounds like he's pandering.
It does, and it has a very strong appearance that way. In his defense, in the area that he grew up in, El Paso, Texas, the majority of people in his circle, Hispanic, Spanish speaking, and Beto is the slang term for Robert or Roberto, versus like Rob, Bob in the Anglo-Saxon world, right?
Okay.
So so when we say it's a street name, like, that's how he was referred to as a kid. Obviously, with the last name O'Rourke, he's not necessarily 100% Hispanic. Like, just saying. But yeah, he's definitely, and his logo is based off of the Whataburger ketchup logo.
Really?
For real? Yeah. No, he's brilliant in terms of how he's marketing himself. He's brilliant in terms of how he's appealing to people.
Well, who in Texas doesn't like Whataburger? I mean, I'm just saying.
Right. Like, no, in fact, basically, if you don't like Beto, like you're basically saying screw you to Whataburger, in which case you should rot in hell.
Yeah, I
Like,
mean,
no, I mean,
it'd be different if he had
like,
like the In and Out Burger arrow as part of his sign. That would not do well. That would not go well in
yeah,
Texas,
you
probably.
know, so it's like, you know, it's kind of, you know, it's kind of an interesting thing to watch. Um,
Oh,
super,
Rob in the chat room is saying he's Irish, not Mexican.
yeah, O'Rourke. Yeah,
Oh, I guess
yeah.
so. I would say I guess that is not a Mexican name,
I was
huh?
saying, like, they call him Beto, and you know, one of the reasons all this marketing material doesn't say O'Rourke is because like he's going after Beto, like he's going after that street cred,
He's pandering for the Latino vote.
right? Which is funny the way he's going about it against the guy with the last name Cruz,
Yeah,
like the son of an immigrant.
right.
So it's like, but the reason we're even talking about it a little bit is because the guy, great sound bites. You know, he's on Ellen, great sound bites. You know, like he compared the kneeling for the flag as you know the
Yeah,
same
I
as
saw that. I saw that. But you know, to give him credit, Toby. In today's times, you can identify with whatever you want. I mean,
right, right.
he
No,
could
and
identify himself as an Irish, Mexican, Japanese. I mean, he whatever he wants
yes,
to do. I mean,
legally too.
yeah, well,
The,
probably. Yeah, I'm just saying. I mean, you know, Hillary should have did that when she ran against Obama and back then, because you know President Clinton at the time did proclaim himself as the first real black president back when he campaigned. So, I mean, when Hillary ran against Obama, she could have said he's black, but I'm married to a black man. I mean,
yeah,
she
yeah,
probably missed that opportunity. That could have got her in the White House the first time.
yeah. She should have worked that. But
She
no,
needed
like,
me as a campaign advisor.
but they just had their debate last week. Ted
Sorry,
Cruz and
I digressed.
Beto
Sorry
O'Rourke.
about that. Yeah,
And the again, this is one of those things when you have great sound bites, you know, and you get a lot of coverage, you get a lot of popularity from these sound bites and from this coverage. It's one thing. You have to stand and answer and in direct conversation with someone. And Ted Cruz annihilated him. Absolutely. And it doesn't matter which news source you look at. You know, like he just like he's a Ted Cruz is a politician. He punches hard.
yeah.
He knows how to
He
punch.
knows how to play that game.
Shape. He basically said, "Oh, you're basically Hillary." You know, it's like so everyone listening that you know didn't like Hillary associate him with Hillary. You know, like really a master of you know the debate. But it's interesting because some of these things like they brief really well. Like, hey, I think you know we should abolish ICE. Um, I I think we should legalize all narcotics. You know, and these are things like how do you like stand in like at a debate and be like with the greatest you know crisis, one of the greatest crises we have in America being the opiate crisis, and be like,
Right.
yeah, I think we should legalize all narcotics. Like
Yeah.
he had to walk that one back, and it's like he didn't do a good job walking it back. And it's like, so how do you feel about cocaine? You know, like, well, it's not as much of an epidemic.
It's not the bad drug anymore. You know,
I
it's
might vote for him. I might vote for him just
yeah,
for that.
yeah. There you go. Hey, I want to get into some other politics stuff, and I want to get into. I just have to, man. I don't. Did you watch any of the hearings today? Did you
A
watch
little.
any? The,
I've had a busy day, but I tried catching a little bit.
I did. I was too. Lucky, you know, I was in my home office all day, which I have my TV up here, and I had it on, and I had to turn it down sometimes. I had calls and things like that, but I was honestly actually on some calls today where I just muted the call because I wasn't talking, if someone else was going, and I had to turn it up and listen to it. It was interesting. Let me tell you, a lot of what I saw, I've been seeing all the talking heads now saying and recognizing a lot of the same things, but I was pretty tuned in, like I haven't in a long time. Because you know, obviously this, you know, Judge Kavanaugh is getting judged in the court of public opinion, right? This is not a real court, and so, you know, you had these, you know, political grandstanding senators, you know, just you know they were you know taking their time, their 5 minutes, and you know they were making nothing but political speeches and all that stuff. And there were some moments today, and I gotta agree, it was pretty. If you watch the first half, questioning of Mrs. Ford, Professor Ford, it was that, man, they couldn't have treated her any nicer. And there was a lot of speculation, Toby, over this question. This former prosecutor of sex crimes that the Republicans hired to question her. Wasn't sure how that was going to go because she's a prosecutor of it, so she kind of know what to ask or whatever. And she treated her very, very. I mean, it was a very civil. You talk about civility in Washington. The first briefing of Mrs. Ford was about as civil as you'll ever see from different partisan parties asking somebody something. They were obviously hypersensitive to her being, a victim of what some sexual assault that she says she's had from somebody. Of course, she says it's Judge Kavanaugh. He says it's not. But she was very emotional. She pulled at the heartstrings. You couldn't help but feel bad for her, and everything. But what was caught me interesting, Toby, was it's obviously they prep themselves, right? We would prep you're going in front of that thing. The whole world's watching, and someone along, maybe her attorneys or whatever, advised her to come in and look like and at least the image she came across, in my opinion, was the little confused, kind of unknowing, just kind of lost in the whole thing, kind of sheepish persona, and which she did very well. Whether that's really her persona, but I mean, she's got multiple doctorates. She's professor. She sits on all these school boards. She's obviously very comfortable in her skin. She's very confident in her speaking. But it was like she really can't. And I'm sure it was intimidating being in this when she's not a politician. But she came across like this little confused, this kind of lady that got assaulted and just didn't know where to go, and she was very confused by the questions. And it was if that was the intent they wanted to come across, if it was real, it was real. I just don't see how it was with as much as she's done and accomplished. But if that's the image you wanted to portray, it came across great. You felt bad for her. You were like, oh, this poor lady has to sit in front of Congress. But once they brought out that, hey, we offered to come to Washington, to come to California, we could have kept this in private. Your Feinstein had this for months or weeks. We could have avoided all this. She actually came back and said, oh, you guys did? I didn't know you guys were wanting to come out to California. And that's when I first kind of cringed, like, ooh, that does not look like the whole world knew. Like they publicized that on every media outlet that they were willing to fly to California and interview you in private, right? That was the first big downfall of hers. The second one was there was this whole thing about they want to keep delaying. She didn't like flying. They said she was going to drive out to there from California. She was afraid of flying and all this stuff. But in questioning, it came out that she flies all over the world. She actually does. She was flown back and forth to the East to West Coast a number of times. She's flown all over the world. She said she's not a big fan of it. Toby, I travel all the time. I'm not a big fan of it either, but I do it. But it's not like I like to do. But that kind of was another like, ooh, that didn't look good for her either. Such a different take, because Judge Kavanaugh came out and again, the left and the right both treated her with kid gloves, and probably rightfully so, to have her drag her through all that. He came out, that dude was on fire. He came out, he had Chad Robichaux and Colton Smith coaching him, because that dude came out swinging, kicking, grappling. It was no hold. That room was a cage match, and he was cleaning house. 45-minute opening statement. And he was, angry when he sat down and just went after it. One of the best statements I've ever seen. And when you thought you saw it all, Lindsey Graham got his 5 minutes, didn't let the lady ask the questions, took his 5 minutes and ripped that place wide open. Lindsey Graham was, I thought the dude was going to drop an F-bomb. I thought he was going to like point a finger at Booker or Feinstein or one of them and start dropping F-bombs. He was on the verge of losing his mind. It made for great TV today.
So I want to unpack this a little bit, because there's a couple layers here. First and foremost, we, the general public, are not the jury here. And it is not for us to assign guilt, and it's not for us to assign innocence. This is America. We have the greatest legal system in the world. Yes, it's based on adversarial roles, but it's based on the presumption of innocence. That doesn't mean, with the presumption of innocence, that we also do not support, protect, and support the rights and the position of the victim in any situation. I think that America does just an exceptional job at that. And if you don't think that and you don't believe that, there are a lot of places you should go visit, not far from America, where you will see a completely different situation. Go to Mexico, go to Canada, go anywhere, go to England, pick any first world country you want that has a established judicial system, and you will find that the Bill of Rights, the first 10 amendments of the United States Constitution, is a standalone document. So now, with that said, I was a little disheartened that people were being asked via hashtag to pick a team, believe her or believe him. Like, give her the opportunity to say what she needs to say. Because, bottom line, political purpose, agendas, positioning aside, we have a woman, we have a human with a claim that warrants listening to. Whatever it might be, everyone deserves the opportunity to voice if they've been wronged in that manner. Right?
Yep.
If you've been robbed of $500, if you've been robbed of $10, the American judicial system has a course of action for you to seek a remedy.
Right.
And as a victim of a crime, you have the right and the process to go do that. So like, absolutely be respectful. Absolutely pick the appropriate person that is not going to compound the crime, that's not going to take salt and lemon and rub it in that wound and grind it. Like, let's treat our victims as they deserve to be treated, and that's appropriately. You use kid gloves. I disagree with that term, because I feel like that's when you're hiding and you're treating an issue with like a level of naivety towards the victim.
I wouldn't say it was naivety. They could have been a little bit stern. They could have asked a little bit harder questions, like the three other people you said in the room did not. Which she did ask a question at the very end. The questioner, the lady did. They could have asked a little bit tougher. I mean, they only talked about the incident, that date, at the very end. All of her questioning was about the July-August timeframe, the letter to Feinstein's office, all that stuff. So I don't mean kid gloves in a bad way. It's just that she could have asked them and said, hey, you said these people were there, and they weren't there. What do you say about that? You say this lady's your friend. She said she didn't know Brett Kavanaugh. So, I mean, they didn't even go there. That's what I mean by kid gloves. They could have taken it tougher. They just took it easy the whole time.
So, layer one, we have a victim. And obviously, absolutely, treat victims as they need to be treated to find the truth. Right. So, like, there's an assumption of belief. There's an assumption, and in the words of one of the greatest American leaders ever, Ronald Reagan, trust and verify. On his end, though, layer two, you have a man, guilty or not. I'm not here to make a statement because I don't know, and I think anyone that's like claiming that they know the answer, frankly, is full of shit, because they weren't there. They don't know. But you have a man that has been charged and accused of one of the most egregious crimes. I can't think of any crime worse, more vile than a sexual deviant act towards a naive or innocent person. Like,
right.
I can't.
Oh, and dude, her graphic explanation, her statement. I mean, she described it in great detail. It was sickening to hear. What she remembers and how the events. I mean, she talked about the laughing she heard. That was the most thing that just stuck with her today. And like I say, your heart really went out to her. There's no doubt. I can say here, and I'll say here, I'll look staring in the face. I have 100% belief that something happened to her. Who did it? I don't know. because I think the Judge Kavanaugh's side was very very believable too. But I think something happened to her. I don't think she made it up. I don't think some of these other ones that flew out of the woodwork last night. Something happened in Rhode Island on a boat, and this other lady talked about all these gang rapes for years and no one ever talked about. I mean, some of that stuff's kind of like sketch, but I've no doubt that something happened to her. She's absolutely believable. She's terrified and scared. You can see it all over. It's just, unfortunately, the way that the Democrats handle this makes it look. No one would even suspect there'd be anything political agenda behind this if they would have handled this the way they should have and really pursued it when they first got the letter back in July. People are like, okay, they got something. They're following up on it. It was the way they really waited till nothing else could work, and they said, "Oh, we got this too."
Yeah, no,
They held it as a trump card. Pardon the pun. Pun not
yeah,
intended.
the level of skepticism that can be placed on both parties is high, and unfortunately, this is deliberately being played out in the public forum, so that the public forum can influence the outcome of this. And, like I opened with in terms of this conversation, this subject, you immediately were asked to join a hashtag of believe her or believe him or believe women or believe men. And this is not men versus women. This should not be Democrat versus Republican. This should be handled separately.
Mm-hmm.
Plaintiff versus defendant.
Right. Or accuser. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and then they should look into it. All right.
Absolutely should look into it. Now, the skepticism that's being layered on top of this is, you're absolutely right. If you have the ability to accomplish all the things that you've accomplished, and you have the ability to travel worldwide, and you have the ability to speak on your dissertations, and you have the ability to do that, you absolutely have the ability to speak to a group of people asking you questions. Because I don't know much about the PhD dissertation validation process, but from my understanding, talking to the very few friends I have that have accomplished that level, part of it involves being subject to questioning of your thesis by your peers, right, and having to validate it. So we know that she has the ability to do this. The subject matter does not make it easy to be vulnerable, right, in front of strangers, and to what could be the darkest, greatest wound of your life, to openly display that is hard, especially something that happened decades prior.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you're willing to bring it up decades later, there is some form of a wound. And like you said, she came across extremely authentic. However, now here comes the skepticism, because some things don't match up. Just like there's some things on his side that just don't match up. But he's not going into that questioning as like the victim. He's going into the questioning feeling victimized, because all of a sudden he's been accused of this egregious crime by people that could have decades prior, have not. He's dedicated his life to do great things. When you look at, the people, supporting him right now, the majority of people that have come out in his support are former female clerks, right, female peers, and they're all saying like they wouldn't be where they were at if it wasn't for a guy like him looking out for their progression and helping them find the path and helping them break ceilings. So like, he's seeing this entire body of work in his life being broken down to a accusation that's skeptical.
Right.
I don't want to use the Duke lacrosse team as an example, because that's a horrible example. But I think it's fresh enough in people's mind that, man, like those guys got hung out to dry in a horrible way, and they were all innocent.
Right. You know what I see? You know what I saw recently, Toby? You talked about hashtag. I don't know if you saw this one. Have you seen the hashtag him too?
Yes.
Yeah. So the whole thing behind that is, yeah, if you're a man, pretty much, and there's been all kind of talk about, you better be worried about your son, your brother, your nephew, your husband, right? Your dad. If you know a man in your life, you should be worried about anyone can make an accusation against them, and they're going to be, they're pretty much guilty, and they got to prove themselves innocent if we were to base off this process. So they're using this, and unfortunately, it's kind of, of course, playing off the Me Too, but it's like, and it's kind of, that there was a reason for some of that happening. Granted, that you could have different varying opinions about how well it's used or how well it's being abused, but it's kind of going and saying things. Hey, it's not just one sided. Him too, right? Guys can be, right? We see it all the time. Women are not the only ones sexually abused. Men are sexually abused by women. Men are sexually abused by men, right? It happens. Harassed. It's not as reported, obviously. Doesn't mean it doesn't happen as much.
No matter what, in the Facebook chat room, uh, Mike Harris has brought up, the point. He surmised it much better than I could have surmised it. The bottom line, regardless of what happened that night, however many years ago, a political party has exploited the pain of that person for their benefit,
Yeah.
not for a moment of healing for her, not to seek justice, but to work a political agenda.
Yeah.
And that's the sad part, and that's exactly why so many people went against the status quo in 2016 and voted for President Trump.
Yeah.
They were like, we don't want to see political games. We don't see the pain and suffering of people's lives played out in a way that it like benefits somebody. Like if it leads, it bleeds. Like that mentality. Like people are sick of it.
Right. Right.
People
And he brought it out in his opening statement. He was savage, dude. Like I mean, he brought out that this is all because of Judge Kavanaugh did, because of people being upset about President Trump. He even brought out this is revenge for the Clintons. When he said that, I was like, oh, he's granted. Remember, he was on the Watergate. He was on Ken Starr's team for the whole, not Watergate. I'm sorry, the whole Lewinsky thing and the whole impeachment stuff. He was on Ken Starr's, but he goes, this is even revenge for the Clintons. I mean, he did not hold anything back, and I can't say I disagree. Excuse me, I had to sneeze.
no, like I forgot all about that, and you know,
and that's what he talked about. He was in one thing he brought up when he was on that. They went after everybody. I don't know if you remember or not back then. There were people that were paying $1 million if they could dig up dirt on anyone on Ken Starr's team. They were offering $1 million, and a couple people got caught or busted or whatever. There were liberals and some on the left that were offering money to find anyone to rip apart Ken Starr's team. He was on that team. Besides the 6 FBI background investigations and through, he went through that where they were trying to get anybody they could. And
so here we are, level, layer 3. Look at that investigation. Look at the Clarence Thomas confirmation. And all of a sudden, we're like, we've gone down rabbit holes and we're trying to use this political agenda for things that were like a decade ago, 2 decades ago, we're like, yeah, he probably shouldn't have done that.
right.
And now it's like, crucify him. Like ruin his life. Go into a restaurant, find him, seek him out, chastise him publicly, and do what you can to invoke your vigilante justice on him. Like,
Yeah, it was.
like it is. We have gone to a level that it's like it's tough to turn back from.
Well, even Lindsey Graham in his 5 minutes, he even said, I have to paraphrase. Anyone who watch it knows, but he pretty much said, God help you if you guys ever become in power, or if you ever try to recommend somebody. Judge Kavanaugh talked about in his opening statement that this is setting a precedence that is going to rip this country apart, and that and even the president commented, who would want this who wants to go through this? Who would want to go through this? Because we know now it is tit for tat. And in fact, somebody made the comment, and right now I don't remember who. It may have been the judge, it may have been Lindsey Graham, that what goes around comes around, which was a clear as day threat of, look, you're doing it now, we're going to do it to you. And honestly, we've seen it, right? They brought up Joe Biden's video of him saying stuff from years ago. They've talked about, they always bring up previous, people from the other side that are, supporting something that now they're against. And, and they brought out, hey, what goes around comes around. So imagine the next person that wants to be recommended, and as the president gets a hold of his hand thinking about recommending, like, no, I'm good. After seeing this, who would want to do this civil service? And there's no doubt that if the Dems become in charge, and they probably will in a few years, because that's what happens, we go back and forth, and someone comes up, that they are not going to forget this. They're going to play, and they're not going to say, hey, we're above that. We've never seen that. I've never seen that. We're like, we know you did that. We're not going to do that to you guys. No, they play the same cards every time.
And that's the part that, really disappointed me today, is this tit for tat, and we don't need to do that. But that's also one of the things that really inspired me today, is I saw some people having legitimate dialogue about these issues in a way that was meaningful dialogue, where they didn't like draw a line in the sand and be like, well, if you believed her over what you believed to him, you're just stupid, right. Or if you believed him over what she said, you're just a heartless beast, and you gotta side on the side of all women. And like that's not what this is about. And again, I think it's a travesty to justice that this is playing out in this manner, in this forum. I think Dr. Ford deserves every opportunity to be heard. I think Dr. Ford has every opportunity to seek justice. I think Dr. Ford has every right to find healing in this time.
Yeah.
Just like I think the Honorable Brett, Kavanaugh, Justice Kavanaugh, has the right to have justice for himself. I think he has the right to due process. I think he has the right to demonstrate all the great things the first 10 amendments of the United States Constitution have. And, that's not this forum.
Right.
That's the judicial system. We're in the legislative system, which is this horrible perversion right now. And these people have perverted, what it means to try and do good things and govern and represent their people. Like some of the stuff that comes out of that Booker guy's mouth, I don't care what party's in. You're like, I don't care. You're just like, and some of the things that comes out of some of those other guys' mouths, regardless of party, you're like, dude, you suck as a human.
Yeah. And some of the ladies too.
Yep, sure.
Kamala Harris is right up there. Yeah, I mean, it's
point of record.
Yeah. Oh, dude, that was just a complete freaking dumpster fire. No, I mean, it's tonight I'm in the truck with my son, who is a junior in high school. We're listening to it, because I was trying to stay up on what was happening before the show, and I looked at him. I said, hey, if you ever think you're going to run for justice, Supreme Court justice in your life, you better make sure you do right the next couple years in high school, because they are going all the way back. I mean, they're on there today. They're talking about farting and flatulence and comments in yearbooks, and they're going through his yearbook line by line. What did this comment mean? What did you mean by ski? Was those brewskis and all stuff? And you know what I thought to myself, Toby? And you probably think the same thing. Thank God I never am going to be in that position to run through that office, because this dude is squeaky freaking clean compared to how I live. Now, I think I'm a pretty decent person now. I think I'm okay. I live a decent life, and I hopefully God sees me that way. But obviously, I did not make good decisions back in high school or even immediately thereafter. And obviously, I did things that I'm not proud of through my life. But I'm so glad I will never be. And even with all my clearances and everything else, and the government has went way back in my past to look at things. I can't imagine what they would do to bring me up on this. I mean, you mean they're one step away from Jesus himself being the only one that could make it through this process. I mean,
Well,
this dude admitted. He said he was a virgin into well after high school. You know, he says he likes beer. We got that clear. That dude said he liked beer 25 times a day. He liked beer in high school. He likes drinking beer. He asked the senators, "Don't you like beer?" I mean, it's clear this dude likes his suds. That's good for him. I'm more of a brown water guy, but I like beer too. But
no, some of those comments, I had that like, my name's whatever, and I like to party. But the
I never thought I'd hear Fast Times at Ridgemont High named Animal House, Fast Times, and something else he said were quoted in a judicial hearing. But then again, I thought I'd never hear the word flatulence either.
right, the
Or grinding. That's another word I wouldn't have thought I'd ever hear.
no, I sorry, I got composed myself. the, we're like little boys here because we're joking. We
got fart jokes.
We got fart jokes.
Yeah, come on.
Yeah. No, the reality is,
that's why we have a show. We're never going to be going to the Supreme Court, buddy.
Yes, because we still laugh at fart jokes. The harsh reality is, like I said last week, I've offended the opposite sex countless times in my life. When I was a young private, let's just a little fireside story real fast. A great place, also known as Fort Hood. I laid some pretty mediocre game on a lot of ladies.
Oh yeah.
I was not a point target weapon. I was an area suppression. And I went out there.
You kicked it up in the club. You put that money down, walked past that bouncer, and was like, "This is my world."
That's right. And I spit.
I'm at city limits.
I spit my game like it was the cone of fire.
I'm at City Lights in Killeen, Texas. I'm ready to hit it.
And I would let my game and my one-liners fall like plunging fire on the ladies of the night out there. And I would like try to get like troops in the open at least one time. I would throw a Z pattern out there. I would do all kinds of stuff. But like, that's called being an immature guy.
Yeah.
And I was single. I was serving the country. I had alcohol in my system because I too like beer. And like, is that what you're going to judge my entire life of service on? Is that what you're going to judge my ability to parent on? Because I didn't have kids then. I didn't understand the law. I didn't understand the impact of my words and my actions on my children. Just like he wasn't a lawyer in high school and didn't understand the impact of his actions on other people.
Right.
Like we need to like get to the point where we lead with a hand of grace and understanding, look at the merits of a person's ability, and decide whether or not we want someone of moral fabric and character in a position of power. And there isn't a person, preacher included, that doesn't have a moral failure in their life. Yeah. I have a severe moral failure in my life. I got a couple of them.
Yeah, we're fallible, man. We absolutely
keeping it real. Like, yeah, some severe moral failure in my life. I wish I had the strength and the moral fortitude that my father had, but I don't. And like, harsh reality, I haven't met many people that measure up. And like you said, if you're not the greatest example of humankind in the form of Jesus Christ, like you got them too. Like Dianne Feinstein, you got some moral failures in your life.
Yeah.
Donald Trump, you got some moral failures in your life. And like, and if Brett Kavanaugh's moral failure is being a cool guy partying in high school.
Oh, he wasn't even that. He's a jock, dude. You look at, I mean, this dude kept this calendar because his dad did. I mean, who? I don't even know. I mean, I couldn't believe he saw this calendar, but he kept it like a diary and a plan and all that stuff. Well before there were Palm Pilots and phones and all that stuff, and he still had it, probably in his parents' basement in a bin or something. But he still had it, and you look at it, and it's like he was in the gym. He was. I know you see in the comments, your boy Harris is hooking you up there.
I got my Mark 19.
Yeah.
That boy, well,
Stuck on auto. Boom, 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 boom.
Mike Harris and I committed a lot of moral failures
Yeah.
together.
Yeah.
So if
The,
anyone, like, you ever need a witness, call him.
I came in more like an A10. I was just like, man, and just see whatever I hit.
You weren't that cool.
No, I wasn't as cool as an A10. But the Air Force doesn't think it's cool either. But
You're a mosquito bomber.
yeah. But no, it's it is you look at it and the guy just, I mean, he kept meticulous. Right. In fact, he even called out the only weekends. I mean, it was just the guy went through everything. But I can't even remember what happened to my class ring that my parents probably paid for. I remember some people only because I'm friends with them still on Facebook, but I do not remember 20 years ago, much less 36 years ago, and what parties. I remember one time I got attacked by my buddy's dog. His pit bull attacked me and bit me through my parachute pants. That's right. I was wearing blue parachute pants because it was the 80s. And I remember because I was mad because the only parachute pants I had. I remember that.
Like, touch this?
That was a traumatic event, dude. I mean, a pit bull freaking hit me.
Can't touch this.
Yeah, no, I didn't. I tried to. I couldn't do the shake because I had a freaking 80-pound pit bull hanging off my right leg. But yeah, I remember those events. But you asked me what party I went to, and like I don't know which one. Like, dude, this guy. There's the only person that thinks that's as clean as him, and my mom thinks I'm as clean as him. But that's because of my mom, and I love her. But she doesn't think I do any wrong, and we'll keep it that way. But yeah, if he can't get through, nobody can. Honest to God. And when you think about, I said it last week. I'm sorry, I'm ranting. Our Congress having a slush fund of taxpayer dollars paying off sexual accusers as sexual abuse victims. How do these people even sit there and question him? Cory Booker himself, known fact.
Yeah, he's dipped into that fund.
Right? He's known. I mean, how can they sit there and be such hypocrites? They should be like, I'm recusing myself. Like I dumped 40 grand in taxpayer money to pay off some intern I had or something. I'm just gonna get up and walk out right now. I mean, they shouldn't even be allowed to question, or even go on media and question. Like, shut up, go to your office.
The biggest issue that I see is that we have a person who I frankly did not even know about until this scenario, who appears on all levels, including these accusations, to be of strong moral fabric. And that scares the shit out of people. Like, people like me that, have not always had a moral compass that pointed north are like, we got a guy that doesn't have flexible standards going into a position of the highest standard bearer in the United States. That scares the shit out of people because, and unfortunately, he is paying the price for everyone else's flexible moral standards, whether he did it or not. People are scared of someone that has him.
Because how do they get him? I mean, the people think. I mean, he's getting so many bad comments because he was a virgin through high school and in college because of this and that, and he talked about how you didn't see church on my calendar because you didn't see brushing teeth on my calendar either because going to church it was automatic. I was going to go. He did service projects. He did this. I mean, it's you got that screwball. I ain't gonna say his name. That creepy porn lawyer, right? Making fun of him, saying, "Wow, he's never looked at porn. He's never done this." And it's like, no, not everyone's a slime ball. Some people lead pretty good lives. Like, they don't. look, they're better than me. They didn't fall to and fail to peer pressure and trying to fit in and trying to do stuff that probably wasn't the right thing. I admit that. I mean, that was things I did, right? I mean, he had better moral, he had better backbone by standing up for what he believes in or standing up for his morals and values than going along with the crew.
No, like one of the things I miss about deployments is the vulnerability and the transparency that you have of those below, around, and above you. Uh, you just you don't hide. You don't hide much on a deployment. It's not just because of comfort level, but it's also because like you just can't hide who you truly are. Like when someone's sleeping 2 feet away from you for months on end, they they know how you sleep. They know how you breathe. They know what words you utter. They know when you go to the bathroom. They've witnessed you going to the bathroom. Uh, it,
You spend hours. You spend hours in a vehicle, right? You spend hours on guard. You spend hours in a guard shack or whatever. We tell
you
each other every story.
you see the deepest crevices, and you cannot hide. Like there was no guy that could successfully hide a sex addiction in combat. The guy that like had the terabyte that like would try and like claim that he was watching The Lion King or whatever movie that he was like trying to perpetrate that he was watching. Like that guy. Everyone knows that guy. No leader was able to walk to the blue water sauna with a magazine tucked under his arm without people going like, "Oh, there's the boss going to hit the Jack Shack." Like,
For
but
those
that
for those
guy,
never on deployment, I'm not gonna define what a Jack Shack is. You can figure it out. Google it.
but then there are guys that slept and lived amidst those guys and never faltered,
Right.
never succumbed to the lusting desires of that terabyte, never succumbed to borrowing that magazine, that remained faithful to their wives, in every aspect, remained faithful to that high school sweetheart that they fell in love with 14 years, old on the monkey bars. Like, you see it all. You see the purity, and you see it all. You see it all. And man, I wish that there was part of that process where you could just be like, all right, so if you're ever planning on being in the Supreme Court, you need to go live with these dudes for or these dudettes for this amount of time, and we're just going to take their testimony.
That's all we need. We're gonna hear everything from your background, anyone you ever dated, slept with, and most of the lies that you try to tell people, because all those come out too, right?
You got to pull fire guard or security.
Yeah. What you think you're gonna do when you get out, what you think you do when you get back to the world, every plan you have, how you're gonna spend your money, right? We tell it all, man. You got everything figured out, because you're sitting there for hours on end, bored out of your mind with nothing to do, right? That kind of stuff. But I want to transition here. We're at we're already been an hour, but I want to transition into one more quick topic, if you don't mind, Toby, if you will entertain it. And it's easy to transition from this. So we're talking about deployments, we're talking about combat, being on guard, and that stuff. So I don't know if you saw it or not, but Secretary Mattis, Mr. Knife Hand himself, is getting some ridicule because of a statement he made at VMI dealing with females in the infantry. And because he used the term of inheriting that policy, not setting the policy, which was accurate, he did not create it. It was done by his predecessor. And that, he is still looking at it. He doesn't have the data. A lot of feminist, female military rights groups and all that stuff are coming out and attacking him, and probably others, because he said he inherited it, like he didn't really support it, and because he said the jury's still out, he's not really sure how it's going to be. They're all attacking him like he's going to reverse it or change it. And again, this is related for a number of ways, but one of them is take a knee, drink some water, take a breath, and think about what he's saying. Right? There's not enough data points. We don't have a unit filled with we have a few women in the infantry and the Marines and the Army. In fact, one Marine she got booted out for having fraternization with in marrying one of her subordinates. Um, we've had a few in it. There's not enough to know, is this going to work? I mean, it is a social experiment, and you can't call it anything else but that. We're seeing, does this work? And there's not enough to figure it out. And he's like, hey, I'm not rushing to judgment, kind of seeing how it works. How's it? They haven't really deployed a female in an infantry combat unit to, out into a remote outpost in Afghanistan or anywhere, and seeing how she's going to do for a year, or a few of them are going to do for a year, or anything else. And I don't know what your thoughts are, if you saw the quote in his statement, but he is he was being upset. He's being honest. He's not being political. Kind of what we got out of the president. He's not there to do that.
So I love how people are saying that his statement has been taken out of context. And it absolutely has not. You can try and use that statement to soften a blow. You can use that statement in terms of like, I want you to understand where he's coming from. Here's the reality. He did not set the policy. He was questioned about that very policy in his confirmation hearing and his confirmation questioning. He answered it then. He didn't have the data to respond. He answered it then with saying that those decisions, while originating within the office that he was soon to hold, came from a higher authority, and that he would respect and honor the chain of command, and his personal opinion, which he at the time said did not have one, because he did not have the data to have one. And that his job wasn't to have an opinion, his job was to have answers. Mm-hmm. And so anyone that's going around going, no, like, it is what it is. He inherited that policy. He didn't subscribe to it. He didn't lobby to have that position that he was awarded on the premise that he would support that. He did the exact opposite and said he will do his job, and what his boss says and what the findings and the data and the statistics prove, he will be. He's called the warrior monk for a reason. He's the most well-read, most learned man in the American arsenal. Period.
Yeah, absolutely.
The data that we do have, outside of conjecture, outside of hyperbole, outside of opinion, supports that we don't have a success rate that constitutes a positive report.
Right. Yeah.
As we've filled in positions and done our best to integrate females into all combat arms roles, including infantry, there have been hiccups. There have been failures to accomplish training. There have been failures to pass training. There have been wonderful accomplishments with people passing Ranger School, people achieving, different levels.
Sapper schools, no one.
Sapper school. People achieving, some pretty cool accomplishments, which, we've had in the past. I remember, like when I was going for my air assault badge, that, there was females on that field. And I remember looking at them just like I looked at everybody else and been like, you all some air assault badasses today. Like, you guys, like, we don't have the data. What data we do have is not complimentary.
Right.
But we won't know the truth until we accomplish this experiment. It's got to run its course. And, you got a Marine with fraternization of a subordinate. You got a female private having an affair with her first sergeant in the Army. You have
at Fort Bragg
rumors of standard manipulation within many levels of TRADOC. to accomplish this. Like, I don't want this process to fail. I want this process to succeed. And the reason I want this process to succeed is I want the best people doing the best work. Like, that's what we as American taxpayers, that's what we as people needing to be defended within the nation, for those of us no longer serving, demand the best people doing the best job that they can.
Yeah.
And that's what a professional force is. That's absolutely what a professional force is. What I don't like, and I will say to the cows come home, is when you push for this, you force my daughter into selective service and being eligible for the draft. And if we ever have that shit show that comes down the road, you took a lot of people that don't want to do that. You just doubled the population of people that don't want to go to war and force them into it. And I think that's bullshit. But that's me.
Yeah. And that's what's great about having our own show. We get to express our opinions any way we want. But, yeah, well, it was a lot of stuff. Is there anything else you want to cover tonight, Toby? We've been going about an hour and 20, and hour and 10 ago. And so, I guess, hour and 10.
Other than, like, hey, Washington State, Colorado, California, y'all think like you're cool because, you got legalized marijuana. Hey, Texas is going to have legalized cocaine before you know it.
What?
So,
what? Man, Texas got so many reasons to move there. There you go. I guess if you're into that, but
in there. No, like again, always a pleasure to have you. I hope everyone tuning in. We're joking about our. We're being serious about our text number 512-361-1178, and just because the show is not live, you can still text that number. I always get a giggle when something like that happens. Because you get this random text at random times. You're like, what is that all about?
Yeah.
And then oh, that's from the show.
Okay, you got the same response I do sometimes. I'm like, what? And someone, and I see numbers calling in from there. People will call it, and I'll be like, like on a Saturday afternoon or something. Like, yeah, I'm not answering that right now.
So like, I get a kick out of it. So don't stop doing that, no matter what time it is. And
don't stop believing. I just had to throw that in there.
Stop believing. Someone had mentioned that in the chat room. Yes. Someone said, stop believing.
Shard put that in there. Yes, he did.
But hey, the only thing I will add is, in the words of our dear friend Matt Goss, man, put a little civility in your life, man.
Yeah.
Like, you and I have very strong opinions. We're not afraid to share them. But we're also not afraid to engage in dialogue, and we're not afraid to respect the person on the other side of the table. So, like, throw some civility in your life, throw some compassion in your life, love all those around you, even the ones that have the bumper sticker on your car that you're like, I can't believe that's there, because that just puts you in the smallest percentile of intelligence in America on the downscale. But love that person. Love that person.
Yeah, all God's children, right? And that's a reality. So some people just take a little bit longer to get smart. But yeah, anyways, thanks for everyone coming in. As Toby said, thanks for listening and letting us into your homes on this September 27th, our last show of September. Then we're in flipping October, man. If you go into your Lowe's or Home Depot, it's full of Halloween and Christmas stuff already, and that day, those days are coming. It's getting cold up here in the up north studio. It's in the my parents were just here, as you know. They got to feel what it's like to have 40 degrees again and up here. So I'll be heading my way down there sometime soon, Toby. In the next couple months, I'll be down there to see you. We'll be in studio together, I'm sure. But anyways, thank you, everybody. Be sure and tune in again. You can tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell the people you don't like. They can catch us. Always catch the archives, iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Spreaker on audio, and then Periscope, Twitch, YouTube, Facebook Live. You can always go back, watch the show, share it. Comment. Please comment, even on the show on Facebook. Let us know after the fact what you thought if you watched it after the fact. And we'd like to hear from you. We'll definitely try to engage with you. And yeah, that's about all I got. Toby, any final words from you? Nothing?
Nope.
All right. Well, all right, everybody. Well, I hope everyone has a good night as I look for my outro here. There we go. And we will see you all next week. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Stu and the Nunn Radio. We hope you enjoyed your time with us because we have enjoyed sharing our time with you. Be sure to check out stewandthenunn.com in addition to asking us questions and interacting with us on our Facebook page and Twitter. We look forward to seeing you next Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern here on Spreaker and Facebook Live. Also, we'd like to thank our sponsors, Warrior Media Solutions, BlueHammer.com, Veteran Outdoors, Graybeard Publishing, and Mighty Oaks Warrior Foundation. Don't forget to like our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter. Thank you again, and have a good night.